They invited the class loser to the 10-year reunion to mock her. Her Apache arrival froze everyone.
They called it a reunion. 10 years since graduation. A decade since lockers slammed, whispers followed, and laughter echoed behind her back. The invitation arrived quietly, almost politely, but the message beneath it was clear. They remembered her. The class loser, the quiet girl who sat alone, the one they joked about, dismissed, and never expected to amount to anything. They invited her to mock her. The reunion hall was already buzzing. Old classmates gathered in expensive suits and dresses, laughing loudly, comparing careers, showing off successes. Names that once ruled the school corridors now floated through the room with forced confidence. "She won't come," someone scoffed. "If she does, it'll be embarrassing," another laughed. They told stories about her like she was a joke frozen in time, convinced that 10 years hadn't changed a thing. Outside, engines roared in the distance. No one noticed at first. Inside, the laughter grew louder. A group near the entrance leaned casually against the windows, drinks in hand, still mocking the past. Then the sound returned. Deeper, heavier. Not a car, not a bike. The windows began to vibrate. Someone frowned. What is that? Conversation slowed. Glasses paused mid-air. The floor itself seemed to hum. Outside, rotors slipped through the air. A shadow passed over the building. Silence fell like a switch had been flipped. People rushed to the windows and froze. An Apache attack helicopter descended nearby, rotors thundering, lights flashing, military precision on full display. Phones dropped, mouths fell open. No one spoke. "Is this real?" someone whispered. The helicopter settled with controlled force, dust spiraling across the ground. The engine didn't scream, it commanded. Then the door opened. A figure stepped out. Flight suit, helmet under one arm, calm, confident, unmistakable. She removed her helmet slowly, and in that moment, recognition hit like a punch to the chest. That was her, the girl they mocked, the class loser, the punchline. Now standing beside an Apache helicopter, composed, elite, untouchable. Inside the hall, no one laughed anymore, because the past they thought they owned had just landed right in front of them. The rotors slowed, but the silence they left behind was louder than any noise before it. She walked toward the reunion hall with steady steps, boots striking the ground with quiet confidence. Every movement was controlled, purposeful, the kind that comes from years of discipline and responsibility. Through the glass doors, her former classmates watched, frozen. "Is that really her?" someone whispered. "No, that can't be," another muttered. The doors opened. She stepped inside. The laughter that once filled the room was gone. Conversations died mid-sentence. Drinks lowered slowly. Faces that once smirked now stared in disbelief. No one recognized her uniform immediately, but they felt its weight. Someone near the back laughed nervously. "So, she's a pilot now?" The tone was forced, thin, fragile. She met their eyes calmly. No anger, no pride, just quiet composure. She didn't announce herself, didn't boast, didn't look for approval. She simply walked past the tables where she had once been ignored. Each step rewrote the story they thought they knew. A former classmate leaned in and whispered, "I thought she'd never leave town." Another swallowed hard. "That's an Apache patch." The realization spread like wildfire. Apache pilot, elite, trusted with one of the most lethal aircraft on Earth. The people who had mocked her achievements now couldn't even meet their eyes. She stopped near the center of the room. Someone finally gathered the courage to speak. Welcome?" a class organizer said awkwardly. "Didn't expect, all that." She nodded politely. Neither did I, 10 years ago. That single sentence cut deeper than any insult. The room shifted. Regret replaced arrogance. The past they thought was buried had returned, stronger, calmer, and completely beyond their reach. And for the first time since graduation, they realized the joke was never her.
The room had gone quiet. No whispers, no laughter, just the hum of disbelief. Every former classmate was now fully aware that the class loser they had invited to mock had become someone entirely different. She moved through the crowd with grace and authority, every step measured, her flight suit a clear statement, discipline, skill, and accomplishment. People began murmuring among themselves. She flies an Apache? I can't believe it. How long has she been in the military? The organizers scrambled, realizing the reunion's dynamic had completely shifted. Invitations intended as jokes now felt like missteps. Some former classmates attempted half-hearted apologies. We didn't mean anything by it." She didn't stop. She didn't smile. She acknowledged their words with a polite nod, allowing them to grasp the full weight of their past arrogance without saying a word. At the center of the room, the commanding officer of her unit, invited as a guest of honor, approached. His presence alone added gravity. He saluted her as a fellow officer, right in front of the group, a clear symbol of her earned respect and status. Gasps rippled through the hall. The classmates who had mocked her years ago froze, realizing that she wasn't just anyone. They were standing face to face with a decorated elite military officer. One former bully stammered, I didn't know." She stopped, looked directly at him, calm but commanding. "Now you do." That simple phrase carried decades of quiet strength, discipline, and victories earned outside the walls of high school. The room collectively absorbed the message. The girl they once ridiculed had grown into someone they couldn't challenge, someone whose achievements demanded acknowledgement. And as she moved toward her seat, every head turned, not with mockery, but with respect. The Apache helicopter outside, still visible through the large glass windows, served as a reminder. She had not just changed herself, she had changed the way everyone in the room would remember her. The Apache rotors hummed faintly outside, a steady reminder of power and precision. Inside, the reunion hall had transformed completely. Where laughter and mockery had ruled before, silence now reigned. Every former classmate watched her, some in awe, some in shame, all realizing they had misjudged her completely. She stood at the center, helmet tucked under her arm, patches gleaming under the hall lights. Her posture radiated calm authority. She didn't boast, she didn't gloat, she didn't need to. Her presence alone told the story of years spent mastering skill, courage, and discipline. One former classmate finally gathered the courage to speak. I can't believe it. You've done all this?" She looked at him, calm but unwavering. "Yes, and every mission, every hour, every decision matters because people rely on you." The hall went quiet again. Not a whisper, not a murmur, just the weight of truth settling over every face. Even the people who had once mocked her now nodded in understanding. Apologies hung on lips that hadn't known how to begin. She didn't demand them. She didn't need them. Respect had already been earned. The commanding officer stepped forward. His salute, crisp and precise, drew the attention of everyone in the room. "She didn't just fly the Apache," he said firmly. "She protected lives, led with skill, and earned every bit of her rank. Today, she reminds all of us that underestimating anyone is the gravest mistake you can make." Eyes followed her as she moved toward the doors. The once jokers, the skeptics, the bullies, all watched silently as the girl they had mocked became the embodiment of achievement and courage. One former bully muttered under his breath, "We really underestimated her." The pilot smiled faintly, calm, controlled, unshaken. She didn't look back. Her triumph wasn't in humiliation, it was in quiet mastery, in proving that skill and perseverance always outweigh mockery. As she stepped outside, the Apache waited, blades cutting the air in a powerful rhythm. She climbed in, the crowd watching, silent. The rotor wash swept dust and leaves around her, a physical manifestation of the force she had become. The hall emptied, but the memory lingered. They would never forget the quiet girl they invited to mock, the one who arrived like a legend and left as one. This was united war, where skill, courage, and discipline turn the underestimated into the unforgettable.